curiosities, and high strangeness. This is a podcast of Straight Up Strange Productions.
On this final episode of the season, we continue our discussion of Adams, Tennessee and the Bell Witch Farm as we talk about the more modern stuff. All that and more on Small Town Secrets.
Every town has a secret. What is yours?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6.10, also known as the season finale of season 6. And you may have noticed I didn't say tonight at the beginning of all of this. There's two reasons for that. One, I'm not recording at night. I'm recording during the day like a weirdo. And two, it has just now occurred to me after like almost 60 episodes that most of you probably don't listen to this at night. So me saying tonight at the beginning of the show doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I think I'm going to stop doing it. Rant and ramble over. But here we are with the final episode, the end of the discussion on the Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee. And if you haven't listened to the last episode yet, you don't need to, I guess. It'd help a lot. But we kind of covered the entire Bell Witch story as it was. And this episode, I'm trying so hard not to say tonight, this episode, I'm going to get into the more modern stuff that is happening with the property now. So we're going to talk a lot about the Bell Witch Cave. We're going to talk about the Kirbys who now live there. We're going to talk about a little thing that happened in 1951 to kind of bump the memories of the Bell Witch in everyone's mind. So that is what we have tonight. I've got some news stories like always, and I have someone who wanted to come in and tell their experience on the Your Small Town Secret segment. More on that later. And that is the show. That is the show for the end of the season. So that's all I've got for this intro. And so let's start our discussion with the Bell Witch Cave, for the most part.
Hello, all you curious creatures out there. I'm Amber Ray.
And I'm Andrew McKay, and we are the hosts of Into the Portal.
If you like myths, legends, history with a paranormal twist, join us every week as we explore lesser-known mysteries of our world and beyond.
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and all other major podcast platforms, and at intotheportal.com, your gateway to the bizarre.
The only question is, do you dare peer into the portal?
Before we get into tonight's topics, I want to take a minute and let you know that there is so much more Small Town Secrets to enjoy. Check out the Patreon. There are $1, $2, and $3 tiers of support with stuff like a shout out on the main show, exclusive buttons and stickers, MP3s to the music I create, also an ad/promo-free version of the main show, as well as STS Backroads, the Patreon-only podcast that comes out in the off weeks, which means you'll get content every week, all in your own RSS feed. There is all of this and more. To sign up, go to patreon.com/STScast or STScast.com and click on the support tab. And now, on with tonight's episode. Even though the immediate Bell family who lived through the experience are long gone, and the farm has far since been broken up into several tracts and sold off, the story of the Bell Witch lives on even today. In 1951, the story got another page added to it when 3 teenagers from Nashville ventured to what was once the Bell Farm. They had decided to see what all the fuss was about, and made their way to Adams. Along the way, they stopped and talked to the locals, and soon found themselves driving down a dirt road, eventually coming upon the original family cemetery. Here, they found John and Lucy's headstones, as well as some of their children. 2 of the teens began pushing John Bell's stone back and forth until they were able to dislodge it from the dirt. The kids then popped it into the trunk and drove off. They started back home, driving quickly, lest the cops were on their tail. They took a shortcut off the main highway through the town of Jolton, and as the speeding car came to a dangerous curve in the road, a curve the locals call the Devil's Elbow, the driver lost control and wrecked into a ravine. The driver of the car died, and the other 2 suffered some injuries. When the car was returned to the family, the stone was discovered by the driver's mother. I've also heard that it was the sister that discovered it. She decided to return the stone the best she could, fearing that the other 2 teens would suffer some similar fate. She carted it back to Adams and discarded it alongside the road. Just a normal road. Like, she didn't take it back to the cemetery because she wasn't sure where the cemetery was. She just thought that maybe she was close enough and put it on the road and covered it with some brush. I've also heard that they threw it into a river. Her hard work didn't pay off, though. Both of the other teens suffered freak accidents, one losing his hand and the other also dying. The stone was never found, and later a descendant of the Bell family would help erect a cemetery for them known as Bell Wood, which is actually a place I think you can go and visit that one, because it's much more of a modernized cemetery. I believe they reinterred most of the family there, I think, or it might just be like a ceremonial thing. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I'm also not 100% sure about that story. It's kind of weird. Like, it has certain needed details to be verifiable. It has a date. It has they went through this town. It was 3 of them, but there are no names or anything. I couldn't find mention of it in newspapers.com. I couldn't find a news article about it. Someone digging it up and giving some details. So it kind of, I'm sure that it happened because the tombstone is, I believe, still missing, unless they might have found it and it might just be somewhere else. But I don't think that's ever happened. They found other tombstones, but not that one. So it's just kind of weird, I don't know. Maybe they weren't allowed to release their names because they were minors or something, and it just never happened. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it happened. I'm just wondering why there's so many details left out of the story. That would have been the biggest thing that happened in Adams, Tennessee, since the Bell Witch. You think that there would be some sort of reporting on it that I could find pretty easily, but I didn't. And as for the land itself, after John Bell's death, it was cut up in the tracts and given to some of his children. As time went on, new families would move on to the land. The main tract, where the original Bell home once stood, came into the ownership of the Eden family, who, over the years, had similar, albeit more tame poltergeist-like activity. And then, in the early 90s, probably around 92 or 93, the Kirby family moved in, which still owns the land today. And I'm doing some math here. The book that I used for this was a book written by them and a reporter friend who self-published the book. The book is called Bell Witch, The Truth Exposed. Link in the show notes, of course. But it came out, it was copyrighted 2003, and somewhere in the book they mention that they've been there for 10 years. So if the copyright is 2003, they probably wrote the book in like 2002. So say 1992, maybe 1993 was probably when the Kirbys moved in, and they're still around on the land today. For years, it had been Walter and Chris Kirby's dream to own a tobacco farm. But whenever they tried, the contracts would always find a way to slip through their hands. That was until the Edens decided to sell. They had some trouble selling the property, perhaps because of its history. However, as the price came down, it caught the eye of Walter. Walter could not pass up at least putting a bid on the place, and before he knew it, he was shaking hands and signing papers. The Kirbys now owned the very land that the Bell home once stood on. Also on this land, nestled back in the woods, was the Bell Witch Cave, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. The Kirbys first were not bothered by the land's history. Walter had gotten a great deal on his dream, and Chris was pleased to have a home with so much history to dig into. In fact, a psychic had told her before they bought the farm that they would indeed buy a farm, and that this farm would have a strange energy to it that would emit from a structure embedded into the land. She would go on to tell Chris to be prepared. And so, Walter, Chris, and their daughter Candy moved into their new home, and whatever lingered on the property wasted no time in making itself known. They had spent the first day moving and unpacking, and thus went to sleep pretty exhausted. In the middle of that first night, all three were awoken by a loud, crashing noise. It sounded like a glass vase full of water breaking as it hit the floor. The half-asleep family looked around for any broken glass, but found none. Even the next morning when they awoke refreshed, they could find no source for the noise. The morning after the odd crashing sound, Chris discovered a book left behind for the Kirbys from the Edens. It was a journal, and as she thumbed through it on the porch, she discovered on page 30 that the Edens had experienced the exact same crashing sound. It seemed both families would go on to experience very similar activity. A few days later, Walter was off working, leaving Chris alone in the house for the first time, when another unexplained noise came up from the basement. The sound was banging, as if tools were being dropped on the concrete floor below. The sound started off softly, but with every clang got louder and louder. She became so distraught that she called a friend who could actually hear the banging on the other end of the phone. And after the move had ended and everything had kind of settled down, you know, when you get all this stuff into place and everything's out of boxes, most of the stuff is out of boxes, Chris decided to explore her new home. With camera in hand, she set off. She sought pictures of the old oak trees, the waterfall that fell into the Red River, and of course, the cave, which, at the time, she did not enter. Didn't feel right. When she got her pictures developed, one caught her eye. It was of a sinkhole caused by a collapse in the cave. In the picture, there were these weird white, misty kind of string-looking things and blobs. The pictures in the book, this is what it looks like, and this is going to sound really bad for a second, but it looks like, you know, like when you watch some ghost hunting show and they capture something weird and they go, oh, that's just like the strap to your camera. That's what it looks like, but it looks like if there's like 10 camera straps overlapping in the photo. I'm not saying it's a bunch of camera straps, but I think you can picture that in your head a little bit better if you've watched any of those ghost shows that come across that. But it's a very intriguing photo, and there's a couple of other weird ones in there of just, I mean, we're talking full-bodied apparitions behind people and stuff like that. It's a pretty good little book to grab and read through. After the strange picture, Chris contacted the same psychic who she had talked to before they bought the land. The psychic came for a visit and walked the land with Chris. It was the cave that intrigued both of them. They both explored it together, and this was the first time Chris had been in Bell Witch Cave. The cave consisted of 2 chambers. They called it the front room, and the other one, the one in the back room. They were connected by a narrow hallway. And in that first chamber, they discovered a Native American tomb, perhaps of a young girl. It was here that the psychic let Chris know that there were multiple spirits on the property. Instead of running from the cave and what might be in it, Chris decided to open it up for tours. The cave would need some work. Chris and Candy worked hard, raking out rocks to level the floor and to work some small channels to help direct the water. The cave has a tendency to flood when it rains, and during the winter is pretty much flooded out. Eventually, Chris took a break, leaving Candy to start on the back room. But before she got all the way to the back, she heard the distinct noise of someone raking rocks in that back chamber. Chris was not in the cave, and there was no way anyone could have gotten back there without Candy noticing. This terrified her, and when her mom came back, they found that no one was back there and nothing had actually been raked. Eventually, Chris was ready to start giving tours of the Bell Witch Cave, and her first tour ended with a bang. Everyone on that very first tour witnessed a white mist on the ceiling in the second room, or the second chamber, causing everyone to flee the cave in fright. And since then, many who have taken the tour have seen odd mist, strange noises, even apparitions. Eventually, they even had paranormal investigator Bob Schott come in and do some investigating, and he did catch something very intriguing on video inside the cave. There was at first a temperature drop in the cave, a massive one that sunk the temp down to around 52 degrees. They first captured a bright orb of light, but after that, for just a split second on film, they observed something that appeared to be a doorway open, and 2 human-like figures walk out before the door closes again. And I really wanted to bring this up for a couple reasons. One, that photo is not in the book. I would like to see a still of that or the footage itself, and I haven't been able to come across it anywhere. It would be pretty interesting to see. The other reason I want to bring it up is, if you know anything about, like, say, Skinwalker Ranch, they have that exact same activity of a door opening out of nowhere, or a vortex, or a portal, whatever you want to call it, and things walking out of it. They usually see them on, like, night vision. I know they were using, like, a night vision camera in here because it was in a cave and it was low light and all that. And it's the same thing that when you look in the Skinwalker, the exact same experience. A door opens from nowhere, things walk out, door closes. And I found that to be really interesting, this connection that now the cave seems to have with Skinwalker Ranch. And, you know, maybe the cave is just this portal area, just like Skinwalker Ranch and some of these other places that have very similar, if not the exact same, activity. And it's not just Chris and Candy who have experienced things, but Walter has as well. He has oftentimes heard voices while asleep. One time, this voice sounded exactly like his deceased father. This is an experience that he has had a lot of trouble dealing with. I think they even said it took almost everything for him to even share it for the book. However, it's not always something that seems to be trying to trick or deceive him. One day, he heard yet another crashing sound coming from inside their barn. The noise was loud enough that Walter ran to the barn and flung open the barn doors. Inside, he found one of the calves had become sick. He was able to get the calf to the vet in time. Had it not been for that noise, he never would have known, and the calf would have most likely died. The Walters still live on the farm today, giving tours of the cave unless it's flooded, and over the years they have found ways and methods to help keep the activity at bay, if you will. They found a way to live with what lingers on the property. If you're interested in visiting the infamous Bell Witch Cave, you are bound to have an interesting stay. Just make sure that it's not going to rain. And so I'm going to spend the last part of this just kind of talking about what the Bell Witch may have been. The Kirbys, I think, have a very interesting theory. In the book, which I didn't really go into in the last segment, they kind of come to the conclusion that it all revolves around a portal, a vortex, something inside of the Bell Witch Cave. And I really like that idea. I think that there are places, like I said earlier, like Skinwalker Ranch and other places where there's just a thing there. And that is a doorway that leads to someplace else that we just can't quite get there yet. It's a very intriguing theory. It's one to think about a lot. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of like it. Is it possible that all of this was just poltergeist activity? That's kind of a good one too. Everything that we know, especially from the original story, at least as we think we know it, all lines up perfectly with poltergeist activity. Kind of piggybacking both of those together, you know, is there an energy, is there something in that cave that was very happy to kind of be dormant and left alone, and then here come the Bells and they build this farm, and now there's an energy, there's an entity in this cave that now has to deal with people it doesn't want to, and it spends years trying to scare them off, eventually succeeding, really. No, you're not scaring them off, but he got there in the end. But then, like, I think, how come, if that is the case, how come it's okay with everybody else now? How come it hasn't attempted to be that aggressive with the Edens or the Kirbys or anything like that? I mean, the Kirbys give tours in the cave, and now it seems okay. So while I think that back in the day that might have been like a great way to kind of explain some of it, it doesn't seem to hold up with the people who live there now. They seem to be doing just fine with it. Unless maybe what is there is just somehow weaker now. Or, I don't know, maybe it's become acclimated to people. It's like, all right, I'll let you go for it. Was it all just a hoax? No, I don't think that it was. Like, you know, like I mentioned in the last episode, if this was a hoax, if they were trying to make money on it, they did a piss poor job. A fucking piss poor job. They made no money. They didn't make a dime. Not only that, but they made sure to house and feed everyone that wanted to come and hang out for the weekend to experience the Bell Witch. So if that was the case, no, you know, and it also just seemed to make their life a living hell for years. And then you have the idea that John Bell was actually sexually assaulting his daughter, Betsy. And there's a lot of stuff to kind of point to that. He married Lucy, his wife, at the age of 12. When all this happened, Betsy was also 12. Many people have said that Betsy had the ability to throw her voice. So, if I may paint a scenario, let's say he's a creep and this is what he's doing, and Betsy starts mimicking or, you know, making up this haunting, which I guess would be a hoax, but not in a hoax that I said before, to scare her father off. You know, it's possible that maybe she did this voice throwing thing, and that's all that it ever was, and everything else that we've heard is just an exaggeration on the story, because we'll have no way of ever proving it. We don't know actually what happened. You know, there's no real record of it. It's all just written stuff in journals and books that came out after everyone kind of died off. So maybe it was just some strange voices made by her and an attempt to scare him away, to maybe make life a living hell. Like, think about it. Like, if there's people hanging out every night at your house, well, it makes it very hard to get up to some terrible, shitty behavior because of it. And then we all know that John Bell, like, he died from being poisoned. It was and he had this weird ailment where his jaw would lock up and he would kind of have seizures, basically. Could she also have been poisoning him because of it? And that's how it all ended. I mean, it was pretty apparent that he was poisoned, but poisoned by whom and poisoned with what is the real question. I don't know. There's a lot of, like I said, like most stories we come across, there's a lot of ideas, but very little answers. And the story of the Bell Witch is no different. It kind of just comes down to what do you believe? What do you think about when you hear this story? And with that, I think I'm going to conclude all of the Bell Witch stuff. I take that back. There's one more thing I want to add that I found very, very interesting, and I just couldn't find a good way to fit it in anywhere. So Chris did a bunch of research on the bells and found out a bunch of stuff. A lot of it we've talked about in the last episode. Stuff like him being excommunicated from the church for charging too much interest, stuff like that. Things that have popped up in other discussions and other sources about the Bell Witch. But there was one thing that I've never seen anywhere else, only in this book. Apparently, they found out that Kate Batts, the woman who they blame for all of this, who said curse them because of was actually related to them. Kate Batts was Lucy Bell's aunt. So if we think back, let's just say that yes, it was Kate Batts and she cursed these people and set this entity upon them. That would explain why the entity was always so nice to Lucy Bell. It's because she was the niece of Kate Batts. And I have not seen that little tidbit in anything, no documentary in any other books that I know of, that I've read at least, except for this one. And that was a nice, intriguing little piece of the puzzle. Little thing to kind of file, at least get, I think it answers one question pretty heavily. And with that, I think I'm kind of just rambling here now. I don't want to do that. So let's take a little intermission. I'll play a song here, and then we will come back, and I've got a couple of local headlines to share with you all. And I have just a couple of news stories to share for this final episode. Quite frankly, it's been a slow news couple of weeks, and I really only found 2 stories that I felt were interesting enough to share on the show. And this first one is coming at us from Coast to Coast, written by Tim Banal. It's been a minute since we've done one just by Tim. And this is Ghost Pants Caught on Film. A truly bizarre piece of footage circulating online appears to show a pair of pants running down a sidewalk seemingly without anyone wearing them. The very weird video was posted to YouTube by the paranormal channel Hidden Underbelly, which noted that the circumstances surrounding the strange scene are unfortunately unknown, although the setting would appear to suggest that it took place outside of the United States. The lack of details notwithstanding, the footage is undeniably odd and rather hard to decipher. In the all but too brief footage, a young child can be seen playing with a rabbit in the middle of a desolate road at night. Suddenly, out of the corner of the screen, a pair of pants can be seen dashing down the sidewalk before disappearing into the shadows. Eerily, features of the building in the background that should be obscured by the upper torso of the being, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, are clearly visible, suggesting that the baffling sight is not merely a trick of light and shadow. As for what exactly was captured on video, some viewers have suggested that the ghost pants were connected to some kind of spirit, while others have posited, perhaps jokingly, that it is an invisible person who forgot to put on a shirt. Others have linked the notorious cryptid known as the Fresno Nightcrawler, and of course, more skeptical observers have put forward the prosaic explanation that the scene is somehow the result of a camera error, or failing that, simply a clever hoax. And I've linked to this in the show notes. It's a very intriguing, if not hilarious, video, because yeah, that's exactly what it is. You gotta watch it. They replay it and slow it down, and it's just a little pair of pants. It's a little pair of like white painter's pants running down the sidewalk, and you can clearly tell that it is indeed not like a trick of light, because there's no torso. You can see the buildings there. But take a look at it. It's interesting nonetheless. And the last one here that I'm going to do is from the Falmouth Packet in the UK, written by Sam Gresley Mansion. The Boscombe Beach sea creature spotted in water. As reported by the Daily Echo, lifeguards called people out of the water at around 1 p.m. on Wednesday, August 4th. The RNLI has since confirmed to the Echo that there have been sightings of a large marine life. A spokesperson for the charity, which I think is the RNLI thing, said the sightings were of a large marine life at Boscombe Beach. The situation is being closely monitored by RNLI lifeguards, who are asking visitors to stay away from the water and have put up red flags. The RNLI added RNLI lifeguards flagged the beaches for a short period of time to investigate reports received of an unidentified marine life. We still have no confirmation of what the creature was, and everyone going into the sea should enjoy it, but as always, respect the water and exercise an appropriate level of caution, including keeping around 200 meters from the marine life for you and their safety. Swimmers have been advised to speak to lifeguards for advice about returning to the water. A witness on the beach at the time told the Echo there were some splashes in the water, and the lifeguards said that they hadn't seen anything like it in 35 years. It was said over the tannoy that there was sea life in the water, so everyone was called out and the lifeguards went up and down on a jet ski. Half an hour to an hour later, everyone was still out of the water when they put the red and yellow flags up and said they could go back in the water but might be called out at any time. Following the incident, the beach was temporarily closed with a red flag raised in place of a red and yellow one. The beach was then reopened half an hour later after lifeguards searched the area for half an hour to an hour but could not find anything. BCP Council was also made aware of the situation and said that the closure was only a precautionary measure. A spokesperson for the authorities said, "We were made aware of the RNLI that they temporarily closed the beach at Boscombe as a precautionary measure whilst an inspection was carried out in the area. The beach is now open again for people to enjoy. And tonight I have someone who wanted to come in and share their experience. We've been trying to work it out for a couple of weeks. We finally got it ready to go here for the end of the season. I was joined by Richard McGill, who has had a very unique experience with UFOs. He doesn't just see them, he interacts with them, and art is made as a result. So he wanted to come on and just talk about it. He's made a nice little coffee table book of all of this intriguing kind of interesting art that he says is made by extraterrestrials with a little help from him and some other stuff. So give a listen to that. It's a pretty wild story. It's a pretty interesting one, and that is going to be our big Your Small Town secret for the end of the season here. And so I got a couple of questions, but really I'm just gonna let you kind of tell your story, and I'll jump in if I've got something to quip about or whatnot. But really, I guess maybe we should just start. I just had questions really at the very beginning. So like, I did watch the YouTube video, the little documentary there. And
awesome. That's pretty much like the basis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get any better than that. Someone make a whole documentary about you, like an unsanctioned spin-off episode of Ancient Aliens, except in the present tense. And
did they? Was that their idea, or did you approach them to do that, or did they just approached?
Well, obviously you didn't watch the video because it describes our interaction.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, but also that's been like I'll tell you like a month ago. Yeah,
We've been talking for 6 months since I first sent out to you. Yeah, I reached out to you, but he was actually the very first.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I've been a 4 years process of turning into from a forklift driver into what the so-called personal photographer to extraterrestrials. But I'm not really good with social media. I just started. One day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send out like 40 tweets. I'm gonna get famous today. And then I got my account suspended for 6 months, and then it came back. And every time a new follower follows me, I was sending out like, "Hey, thank you for following me." And he approached me saying, "I'm an aspiring journalist." If you go to his YouTube channel, it was Parker's Super Cool Videos, but he changed it to Night Freak Gobletron, which I think is a brilliant name. He's got stupid video. This is the first thing, his foray into like aliens.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like the first. He was going to make he wanted to do more of them, but you were the first one that he did.
Yeah, and
so
where do you go from there, right? Like getting out of the park,
Yeah, beginner's luck, right? So yeah. I believe so start at the beginning. How did all of this start? I believe it had something to do with you walking your dog, correct? Is when it all kind of took off?
Honestly, let's just think about this reasonably. Like, aliens understand the concept of monopoly, and they play for keeps. Mm-hmm. So my relative, I have 2 sets of family that are very successful. Like, one's worth like 50 million Canadian dollars. I'm in Canada. Okay. Another one has like a fruit empire. So like success runs in my family, but my family, my mom and myself were the black sheep of the family. But we had, aliens saw the potential in me. I wasn't really doing anything at the time. I was a forklift driver. I really took effort into loading my trucks every day, and I was afternoon shift forklift driver. So I'm up 1, 2, 3 in the morning. So on my 31st birthday, I'm walking my dog, and I saw a light flash in the sky, right where I was about to come home from the walk. And it was, just at the corner of your eye, nothing really. All right, I thought maybe it's something cool. Well, maybe it's just, you look at a light or something. But it got me interested in the subject. I was never interested before, really. I've seen Men in Black. I haven't really seen Star Wars. Alien, I haven't seen. E.T., I haven't seen. I'm not really that big into science fiction, but I was always a big picture kind of guy, realizing that we're such a ball in space. Aliens are probably real, so that got me interested in the subject. Watching YouTube videos cruising around. You click one video, then you get to Bigfoot, then you get to Megalodon, stuff like that. But mainly aliens. And one video told me how to contact aliens. Like just go outside at night, pray to the universe, come down. When I was in Venezuela, I smoked some really good weed in the Amazon jungle, and that feeling of like everything connected, everything moving, I used that feeling to one night after work, let me try, and 15 minutes of just praying to the universe. I'm Jewish. I'm not religious. I eat bacon, lobster, cheeseburgers all the time. So, but but Scientology, I don't know. I don't want to, yeah. So see if 15 minutes of, so, but I'm saying using that for how to pray to the universe. I'm not, it's hard to explain. But yeah, you see, I saw a light skip across the sky for 2 seconds. I was so excited. I continued trying to interact with them for a couple of weeks, just like praying or looking at the stars, say move left, move right, and then like they kind of moved a little bit, a whole much more. My thing is, I don't know. You look up in the sky, stars, just the night sky, stars appear. So 15. So after a couple of weeks of interacting, I'm filming what I have a notion, like a impulse to film a star 4:30 in the morning, and then suddenly it locks onto my cell phone, and I have this video. It's on a dead Apple iPhone. I'll try and send it onto my YouTube channel eventually, but it's hard to see because you need a complete black. And then like a half a blue circle appears on the top left corner of the screen where like the thing where the lens is, and I'm moving my phone around, and I'm like, holy guacamole! I didn't say that. Like from space, a star locked onto my phone, and then I was like, I could barely sleep. So then like 6 in the morning, I'm in my backyard again, and clouds moving, stop. Other clouds moving, stop. I was kind of like in a snow globe, and I'm like, all right, what is going on? Like mental illness runs in my family. My grandma threw lamps. My mom was bipolar. So maybe I smoke way too much weed. Maybe I got some sort of illness. No, I actually went out of my way to interact with aliens, and they took up my request. I invited them into my house to party. I asked them. The first request was make me a smiley face in the sky, and I was so excited when there was a grayish cloud appear. I'm but like a yellowish tint too. I was like, wow. But then realizing what they've progressively accomplished, like the most intricate, I call it like a mix between SimCity and Where's Waldo. All I do is sprinkle substance, whether it be powder, graphite, charcoal, like hundreds of different substances, trying to figure out the how to document their art, and been a process. And yeah, I'm outright in saying, I mentioned Monopoly. I realized aliens. Why me? Why hundreds of people interact with aliens? What do lots of people are trying to profit from it, and I'm doing the same thing, but I just genuinely wanted to prove to my coworkers that I was interacting with them. And now I've invested a lot of money to print 5,000 copies of a photo book, which 50% of the profits are going to environmental causes, which is obviously I have to do that because my coworkers are extraterrestrials. Without them, so they're not going to need our money, right? So if I haven't made anything. I've sold one book in America right now.
Yeah.
So it's a love project. It's enjoyable to interact with them. Like you throw some toilet paper in the toilet, and you watch, and they make art in that. And people would say, okay, you're delusional, buddy. You're crazy. No, I have my one main UAP picture is like I took when I got my zoom lens the very first night. I'm shooting in my backyard. I take on a tripod, no lights. I take one shot, black sky. Adjust the settings, take another shot. Don't move the tripod at all. A 7 distinct object UAP. different colors, different shapes, like long lines, different. And I use art mode. So if you go onto my YouTube channel, no, my Twitter, which is where I pretty much like I've done 8. This is my actual 8th.
Actually,
My
I
8th.
can do it right now. Okay.
Yeah, Richard McGill, Magill, then the number 2.
Number 2. Yep. And I'll make sure I'll put that in the show notes and stuff so people can grab it. And if you think about it, make sure like send me a link to where people can get the book, and I'll make sure to put all that in the notes for stuff.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm saying I was not really into business. I wasted all my money printing 5,000 copies. I've got about like 4,800 left. I don't even have a website. I'm not on Amazon. I'm not on Walmart, obviously. You can only go through. I'm setting up a website, but I need to sell some books to start that. So you go to my YouTube channel, direct message me, talk to me. $50 US. That includes shipping and any taxes. We'll ship it to America. It's about 22 Canadian, so it's expensive. I'm in Canada, right? It's expensive to get to you guys, but $50 Canadian, US dollars. PayPal. Talk to me. The one person that has bought my book at Rock Hawk, my buddy keeps distracting me. Every time we do an interview, he's always distracting me. It's annoying. I did interview with Stephen Cambion, and then someone actually made a podcast shitting on my podcast. It was like the greatest. Like someone made a different podcast. Shout outs to Paranormal Hood. Thank you for spending the time and shit talking on me. I really appreciate it. Daniel is just my buddy, a life childhood friend. He's not my handler. He's making a documentary on me. I don't think I'm that entertaining, honestly.
Yeah.
But my coworkers are. So, but it's basically, if you want to, the person that bought my book, he says it's like being able to travel. How I say it, but he says there's other like picture-in-picture. I've spent a lot of time like different quotes. I've read 6 books on the subject that take a few quotes from the book that describe the picture. I have a green one-eyed alien fish. I have an alien selfie. Gifts from aliens. Like the very first thing. After a few months of interacting with them, I asked for gold and meteorite lace dagger, like the one found in King Tut's tomb, and then a few weeks of just pestering them for that. I found a rock in where they locked onto my cell phone. My buddy just put a thing. He says, "Let him talk, ask questions, give him space." That's his directions for me. So he is technically he is my handler, but I don't actually listen to him though. That's the thing. So I'm in his backyard. I just got off work. It's super friggin' hot in Canada. How's it where you are? You're in Philadelphia?
I'm in Ohio.
Ohio? Oh.
Yeah.
Right
now it's sitting at a cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where's my thing? I don't know what temperatures. It's not too hot today. It's been hot though.
If you told me Fahrenheit, I wouldn't know what it is. Celsius, man, it's so easy. 0 degrees, water freezes. 100 degrees, it boils. Can't get much easier than that. I don't know, you Yanks. No, I don't want to shit talk you guys.
Oh, no. I'm with you. I think it's completely ridiculous. That and the what is it? Whatever measurement we use. What is that? Standard? Yeah.
Miles.
Yeah, all that crap. Like metric is so much better.
Yeah, it's just easier to remember. But
yeah, no.
If you have a a little off topic, but yeah. So aliens,
right.
Yeah. That's what we're here to talk about.
Right. So you said, I was kind of interested in this. So like you said you've used different mediums, for lack of a better term. You've used graphite, you've used toilet paper, like you've just mentioned. Have you found like a good one that's given you like what do you think has given you the most consistent results, the most, astounding result? Have you found like a certain type of medium that seems to work better than others, or are you just like, let's just try everything and see what we come up with?
Pretty much, like they can do it on anything. Like it started with like flour, but then I went to my basement and I saw some charcoal. I'm like, wait, that's a great idea, and crushed up some charcoal. Basically, it's like how much effort you put into the picture, they reciprocate by making the picture better. So when I bought a huge amount of like art supplies off of Amazon,
Mhm.
and then I had a crazy, like, what I've read is aliens don't really their commerce is mainly bartering. So I do something good for them, set up like I said for a zoom lens, like a nice $700 zoom lens. Shout out to Canon. That's all I use.
Right.
You know, and I sold everything though, so I have no more but I have literally 20,000 pictures, so I have enough for a couple albums. But yeah, so when I did bought a new lens, then I only have like 2 UFO pictures. Based like it's hard. But I have like they make art of it, but
Right.
or it's like black belt level crop circles, like 3D. I call it virtual. The title of my book is "What Do You Mean Aliens Aren't Real?" I don't know how to make virtual reality art. I'm just a trigger man. Trigger man, obviously, as when you take a photograph, it says shooting, but it has a conspiratorial tone to it, and it's kind of. But I. So I'm working on this book. I made the title, and then I find a rock. I just find things around my house, or like, well, I forgot about the rock I was telling you about, but I found a rock that had like etched in bullets. You can see it on go to my Twitter. I have like 4,000 tweets.
Yeah, I
There
think
are a
I'm
lot of
actually.
the same.
I'm looking at. I think yeah. I just clicked on it, I believe, as you said that. Mm.
Yeah. But going back to the first rock, this rock,
Yeah.
if you can find that rock on your thing, but it's a black, has 7 distinct characteristics of. So I asked for gold and meteorite lace dagger, like the one found in King Tut's tomb. The thing about meteorites is they're mainly black and they're magnetic, and they do not scratch on tile, unlike magnetite, the earth rock.
Mhm.
This rock is highly magnetic, like 2 flat sides. It's like a perfect tomahawk head. It's literally a gift from aliens. So but I reached out to the local museum, and they banned me. I just sent a tweet, one tweet, to a reporter from a local newspaper. He says, "Do not tweet me ever again." I honestly thank you for having me on Paranormal Podcast. The first one I ever did, I didn't even really know about paranormal podcasts that much. And one guy from Oddball Aussie from Australia, um,
Yeah. Yeah, he's in my
messaged me.
network actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got the ball started, and we had a great one. He wants to have me back on, but yeah, I was actually his first guest, so it was pretty cool, and we still keep in touch. But then I went looking for more. Then actually, the first one I did was You Had Me at Bigfoot, but the Oddball Aussie got me on first, and then I started reaching out to everyone. But the last one I did from that nighttime podcast from my own country, Canada, from Nova Scotia. I looked, just trying to look to see how many views on his YouTube page, and I couldn't find it. There's only one deleted video, and this guy has a Facebook page about UFOs. They actually deleted my podcast, like, which is kind of pretty cool, like I'm like, oh, maybe I'm rattling things up a little bit.
Rattling some cages, yeah.
I actually have proof. Unlike a lot of people else, like I can just sprinkle something down and they can do it on cue. But people have to have some patience, and it's minute little microscopic details. So you look at it for 2 seconds. Oh, there's nothing there, and then you turn your head and explain to me. Oh, it's your imagination. Oh, it's just cumulus clouds. Oh, it's just a KGB. Oh, it's just satellites. But
But no, you're right. Like I did watch a couple, the one I think that you kind of point to a lot about the graphite, and if you can sit there and watch it, and I think you say it like 4 minutes and 45 seconds, you can see the thing pop on to the edge of the paper, and you can watch it go across. Yeah, you really do have to sit there and like pay attention to them. It's not, you're right. It's not like a.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've
yeah.
And the problem is it's 3D in nature. I've spent like 2 hours waiting till a picture gets done. I'm like waiting for it to be complete, but it never gets complete. But it's utilizes the 3D aspect and how regular crop circles are more visible from afar. So you have to stand back, but then it's hard to see. So you have to take a picture of it and zoom in, and one picture is you can turn at different angles. So but like you need the book and you need your phone or a camera to totally appreciate what I have to show you. But there, like you said, I have the video is for free. I didn't ask him for it. He just asked me to make that. And yeah, this is my 9th podcast. The goal is to have the whole world know about this situation, see what an alien fish looks like. I asked to try some food of them, just thinking in my mind, hey, let me try some food, just like nonchalantly, not even like expecting anything to happen. And then I found a little green one-eyed fish outside my fish or shrimp outside my bedroom door soon after. It's not a seaweed, it's not a green pepper. It has a one clear translucent eye. Anyone that marine biologists or who research it, I mean, if I've looked up one video or one movie or something, or a discussion with Stephen Greer at Stanford University, and analyzed his little Atacama, like little alien corpse, and they fudged everything, the numbers and everything. But then they got some money from the government. So, I'm not here to talk out of my lane. I'm new on the scene. I'm trying to get everyone's attention, but it's not. Don't really listen to my story. Just look at what I have to show you.
All right.
Please and thank you. If you want to buy the book, if you want to travel to other planets and dimensions, then we could talk. I promise you 50% of the profits going to environmental causes. I'm going to piss off the universe? No, obviously not.
All right. No, that's great. I actually like that you're donating that, like that, there's a cause towards it as well. You're not just trying to like sell a book. You have
Exactly.
a motive behind it.
The first order of business I say in the book is plastics in the ocean. And how do I bolster my claim that, they gave me a little alien fish, most likely. It looks like a shrimp, but it's super tiny. It fits inside of a memory card case.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how big? So really, okay. Really
tiny, really, really tiny. Like I'd have to eat like 1,000 of them, and I might be kind of full, honestly. They're super tiny. Someone just asked me on Twitter a couple days ago. I respond back. Honestly, I'm not like other people that won't. Like, you ask me something, you can talk shit to me, say I'm crazy. Feel free. It's not pareidolia or whatever that term is for seeing faces in random shapes. It's just not. I'm crazy, but I'm not delusional. There is a difference, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? I was going to ask about. So like on your Twitter here, like your banner picture, that is, I'm assuming, a picture of the book,
me,
right? No, like not your like profile picture, but like when you go to your page.
Yeah, that my haircut. That's not my actual haircut now, just so everyone knows.
Yeah.
That was just a buddy with shaving my hair, and then did that for in the between picture. I'm not into Taxi Driver.
Oh my God, you're right. Now, yeah, I see it now. No, that's not what I was talking about. But I was talking about like
I did see someone with that same haircut today, but he had dyed it green. I'm like, holy shit! Are you
see? You didn't dye it green. So
no. Oh
but
no,
like it looks like you've got a picture here of your book kind of open to a page.
Correct. That's like a hodgepodge of. That's a really cool picture.
It is, yeah. It's very coffee table book like, it's just
100%.
Bright. Yeah.
It's a coffee table book, but it's also a washroom book. You take on the shitter, bring the book in, take your phone, and but that page. Look at it now in the book. I put a lot of time. Have some fun quotes and stuff. If the quote that's on that page you're talking about is, if video games have taught me anything, it's that if you encounter enemies, then you're going the right way. Ali G, aka Sacha Baron Cohen. and I'm encountering a lot of enemies or gatekeepers or people, 100 like 200. I don't know how many videos the guy has, but only one video is deleted. It's kind of which is mine.
Sure. Yeah. Huh.
A little peculiar.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, like,
Well,
what are some of your favorite pieces, I guess, for lack of a better term, that they have made? You got a couple of favorite ones?
one is that, well, we've already mentioned a couple of them, but then there's also the story behind the alien selfie, which puts me in describes my situation, but it's like it's from space or another dimension or planet. Aliens took a picture. So if you can find that picture that go along with what if you can probably see it if you scan down or read a few of my things. But so I'm in my computer or workroom by myself, thinking I'm interacting with invisible, like it's like a mist or something, really, that makes the art, like the small UFO video. That was one of the the second time actually, that they came, like I saw something flip around, but luckily I was recording it. But the very first night after quitting my forklift job and bought a digital camera, I saw a little translucent blue ladybug sized UFO floating or doodling in my barbecue lid. So I knew that they were small sized UFOs too. So I'm just drinking some water. It's super hot here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this selfie.
Drinking tequila, you fly.
No, this one. So I'm in. I'm trying to keep a one man and hundreds, who knows how many different UFO types party going. So I just decide to make like, for lack of better terms, sexual sock puppet gestures, like a sock puppet. I don't know, but lewd behaviors. I'm a kid at heart. What can I say? Into my digital camera, like pretending like the digital camera is like a viewer. I did not take pictures of that experience. The next day on my phone, a picture appeared. The source of it says cover camera, so it's kind of like a photograph with the cover closed on the camera. It just shows.
Yeah. So like,
and
like when you covered on your webcam or whatever, or kept the. Huh.
Yeah, but I didn't take this picture. I promise you.
Yeah,
it's not
weird.
a Photoshop. So, and the file size is kilobytes. If you take a normal picture, it's usually in megabytes. But usually, but if even bright in this, I tried. I can't. But the thing is, I can't even. I don't even. I lost that phone. Someone stole it from me, and so I don't have the original, which is like absolutely devastating. But the picture shows an arm mimicking the exact same thing that I was doing, and you can look at the arm. The wrist is like twice the size of our wrist, and there's like really long, gangly. You don't see how many fingers they are, but you also see a little UFO floating around, and then there's something on top of it. I don't know what that is, but I describe the art mainly as like half Salvador Dali, half Walt Disney. So this is if you ever, there's a famous picture of Salvador Dali called Dali Atomicus. It's like a surreal, crazy picture that I think this is like them imitating that picture, but as it doesn't have their face, so it's an alien arm and a small UFO selfie. It's not an alien selfie, but it's still an unbelievable thing that shows my actions are being viewed by people, and not me trying to fool the world. This is what UFO Twitter we've all been waiting for. Honestly, I hate to interrupt your incessant musings, meanderings. It's the same thing every day. I have a regular job. I really should go around and be trying to sell my book a lot harder. It's a soft sell, it's a soft launch. I can't say, hey, buy my book. Oh, who's this guy? Who the hell does he think he is, investing so much money in 3 years of your time, dedicating yourself to all these like artifacts, all these. I didn't own a digital camera, but from a shitty pawn shop camera to a professional 5D Mark IV, learning photography, and there's almost 1,400 pictures in the book. So it was a fun thing to make, but
Yeah.
I kind of would like to I do have to get them out of my printer's warehouse shelves eventually. So it would be nice to sell some. Hopefully, some of your listeners or viewers would like to, take a chance on me. But if not, whatever.
Yeah.
Then just don't bother asking the universe for any favors anytime soon. I think. I think. No, obviously ask the universe favors. Well, who am I? I can't. I don't talk for the aliens. Honestly, I just talk shit myself.
Gotcha. Has there been anything interesting happen really just in the last, like recently, like last couple of weeks? Anything like I don't know, just going through the Twitter here. Let me go back to the top and see what was the last thing you kind of did. Just anything, I don't know, anything like because we've had to reschedule this a couple of times. I just didn't know if maybe something cool would happen in the last week or two that you would like to throw in here real quick.
I did DMT for the second time recently, actually like a week or two ago.
There you go. That'll make you talk to the universe.
Well, exactly. And then as soon as I lie down, I heard like, "Oh, welcome back" or something. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man. Cool.
But I honestly, I didn't even need any psychedelics. Like I'm just like, you lie back at night, use your third eye to really concentrate, and you see whether it's your subconscious, whether it's your imagination. All I know is reading from Dolores Cannon. I read a couple of her books, and she says when you're hypnotized, she can say, "Hey, let me talk to your subconscious," and your subconscious talks about you in the third person, which is pretty gnarly. But then there's also the aspect of them, like the girl says that there was this crazy owl in the road, and then when she's hypnotized, what was that owl? Oh, that was actually an alien, but me being the subconscious, I made it seem like it's an owl to lessen the impact of that.
Yeah, they call it a screen memory.
Correct.
Yep. I've heard of that before.
Aliens look scary. Like they're like, I don't know, there's hundreds of different varieties. They're not just like the gray version, but they're trying to make it as like they're hijinks. I honestly think these photographs are them doing like wild and crazy orgies. Like it's like a SimCity, but them engaged in like wild and crazy orgies. That's my hypothesis. Everyone can view it. It's art. You can view it 100 different ways.
Yeah.
What I see is not obviously going to be different from yours.
Richard, the house is on fire.
Okay. That's my buddy trying to throw a wrench in. Unhappy is the fate of one who tries to win his battles and succeed in his attacks without cultivating the spirit of enterprise. For the result is waste of time and general stagnation. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. That's all. Whether I become rich and famous, the goal is to get on the Joe Rogan podcast, obviously, because once that happens, it's going to be a never-ending shitstorm of publicity. So I'm kind of enjoying not being a center of attention, but it's not me. It's aliens, pretty much.
All right. I know. I get you. I understand. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've been, what are we at, 35 minutes here? Anything else that you want to get in here real quick? I think, what time we got? I think that that about does it for me. I was going to ask why you, but that was actually the first thing you kind of went into. So that was my last question, but we answered it probably 20 minutes ago. So anything you want to plug? Anything else you want to get in?
Yes, yes, yes.
You've got a Twigger. What the? You got a Twitter, you got a YouTube, and
Yeah, well,
all of that.
We were talking about the one video in which you can see a little insect-sized UFO
Mhm.
float back and forth and do a slow motion somersault or backflip onto the paper. 5 minutes, it meanders along the paper, and then
Yeah.
it goes to the other edge of the paper, and you watch really close. It looks like it shakes in like a magician without being a cloaked or a cloth. Pops out of a dimension. That video and lots of other videos of the art being made, which is not an art, an art escapade or anything. It's really hard to see, but that one video you do see the UFO. My YouTube channel is my name, Richard McGill, Magill. But also on there is I spent a lot of time. Uh, Aliens got me hooked on art. I started making paintings, and
Yeah.
but I really put a lot of effort into making music. I say I'm like a one-man ukulele band. Go onto my YouTube channel. There's my phone that was stolen also had a memory card with with lots of like 6 months of photographs and like my whole catalog of music that got stolen. So anything on my YouTube channel is all the music I have recorded, whether it's like maybe 20 songs that are really, really good. I would start with the three. It's called Silly Sounds on my ukulele. A whole bunch of different things. Or also Summer in November and I can't and I forgot the other name. Or my first duet with my very first duet and the 3 minute 48 second song. Wear headphones. Listen to the music, please. We're not getting any more Hendrix. We're not getting any more Led Zeppelin. Maybe if those two, if Bonham and Hendrix were aliens, maybe they use me as their middleman to make some music. I don't know. I think it's really good. Maybe it's not, but I would love at least have a listen.
Right.
And again, that's all free. I'm not asking you to buy my album. It's all free.
Gotcha.
But mainly the documentary it's gone from in 6 months it's hit 1,700 views. It's like some random guy just messaged me, say, I want to make a documentary about you. He obviously saw the merits. He put about 25 hours of his time without paying. I haven't even given him a book yet. I really got to send him the book. Parker, I'm so sorry. I will send you a book. I just got to get some money. My work is very slow. No one's wants fences. I do fences.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
YouTube you would say is probably the main hub, the best way to
to
interact with it. Yeah.
no, to talk to me and see my main stuff is Twitter. If you want a 21-minute documentary that will go through all my proof, which we've kind of done today, but there's more, and you can see not me just thinking on the top of my head, like a written out sentences that like are proper, not me jibber jammering away. But yeah, it's really good. Honestly, I can't thank him enough. Honestly, I said if I ever get some sales, I owe him a Lamborghini, whether it's a model or a brand new one. It all depends on you, the customer.
Right. All right. Right. I'll make sure. So yeah, I will make sure to throw your Twitter, your YouTube, and a link to said doc.
If you spend 10 seconds perusing my Twitter thing, you'll see lots of links to the website, the documentary. But there's also the main thing is also you asked me what another cool thing is this little tiny rock that is super tiny. Again, super tiny. You zoom in, you see some wild, crazy alien smiley faces.
Is that the
rock is in the documentary too, but there's lots of
I think I just scrolled past it a little
just
bit.
Take a little bit of your time and see, maybe I am telling the truth.
Right. Yeah, just hit the old media button and go through and just pretty much almost every tweet you got here is has some sort of accompanying photograph or video. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Just
chock full of it. All right.
Exactly. Everything I back up what I have to say with proof. So how many other stories can do that?
Yeah. Not a lot. Sometimes not a lot. All right, man. So okay, and that does it for the episode 6.10. That does it for season 6. That does it for the Bell Witch. Thank you, everyone, for listening and supporting the show. If you have a small town secret to share, the best way to get it to me is to go to stscast.com, scroll down to the bottom of the main page, and there will be an email form to fill out. You can also find everything else for the show, show notes and pictures. I had to update them here in a little bit. I've been slacking. I'll get around to it. You can find all the social media links. You can find all the ways to listen and support the show. Patreon link is on there. Merch is on there if you want to grab a coffee mug or a sticker or a shirt or any of that great stuff. All of it can be found at stscast.com. You can also find me on social media. I am most active on Twitter. That is at STScast. You can also find me on Instagram at stscast.gram. Also on Facebook, still dealing with the repercussions of being hacked from a while ago. So there's not an @ for it yet. But if you use the social media link at the bottom of stscast.com, it will take you to the newly made Facebook page. And if you stumble upon the old Facebook page, I can't get on there. I can post to it. I just can't do anything behind the scenes on it. So I did put a post with a link to the new Facebook page. So if you use Facebook to interact or find out about the show, hop on over and like that new page so we can make it the new page. But yeah, that's it. That's the social media. That's how you can get a hold of me. I am going to take a couple of much needed weeks off and come back with the beginning of season 7, unless you're on Patreon, which there will be a couple of Backroads episodes to look forward to. I think the next one, I'm going to discuss the Whaley House in, I think, San Diego, which is not a small town, but that's the great thing about Backroads is we can cheat a little bit. I think that's what I'm going to do unless I stumble upon something else, but that's what I've got in the pipeline for the next Backroads episode if you're a Patreon subscriber. And yeah, that's all I've got. That is the season. Once again, I am out of here. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, be kind, and remember, every town has a secret. What is yours?